Welcome to this explainer. If you're tuning in today, I'm guessing you're on the hunt for that elusive academic edge, right? We all want those top marks, we all want to see that perfect grade staring back at us. But let's be totally real for a second. The traditional way of studying often feels like an absolute grueling chore. We've basically been wired to think that success means pulling these endless hours of miserable, distracted reading. But what if the actual science of studying tells a completely different story? Today, we're breaking down the source material to reveal 3 absolutely powerful tricks that let you bypass the endless grind and tap straight into how your brain actually wants to learn.
So, do you want to become the topper of your class? Surprise everyone with your marks? It sounds kind of like a dream, doesn't it? Well, take a second and connect with that really familiar frustration. You know the one, studying incredibly hard, putting in hours and hours, but just not seeing that fast improvement you absolutely know you deserve. It's so exhausting. But here's the massive promise drawn directly from our source material today. By simply shifting your approach and applying these 3 scientifically grounded tricks, you are going to completely change your academic future. No joke. You'll surprise your classmates, your teachers, and honestly, mostly yourself.
Okay, let's dive into this. Trick number 1, the 25-minute focus rule. To really wrap our heads around this, we first have to shatter a massive myth. The whole idea that success means locking yourself in your room and studying for 3 or 4 hours straight. It's crazy. We treat studying like it's this brutal endurance marathon. We kind of think, hey, the longer I stare at this textbook, the more I must be learning, right? Well, biologically speaking, your brain just isn't designed to maintain peak focus for hours on end. When you try to force 3 or 4 hours of continuous study, your concentration naturally weakens, your mental fatigue skyrockets, and you're literally just adding unnecessary pressure to your nervous system. Working smarter means working with your biology, leaning into short, intensely focused sessions, followed by deliberate breaks.
So, how do we actually do this? The execution is brilliantly simple. Step 1, give yourself 25 minutes of pure, unbroken focus. And I mean pure. No phones, no scrolling, absolutely no random checking of notifications. Put the phone in another room if you have to. Step 2, take a 5-minute break to let your brain reset. Grab a drink, stretch. Then, step 3, repeat the cycle. By actively removing all those little micro distractions, studying actually starts to feel way less boring. It feels more like a quick, energetic sprint rather than an agonizing marathon. And the best part? Your brain responds by retaining the information significantly better. All right, moving right along to trick number 2. Stop waiting for motivation. Now I'm going to use a little tough love here because we really need to talk about an incredibly widespread myth. It's the belief that you somehow need to be in the mood or feel super inspired to sit down and study. We totally romanticize this idea of the perfect study mood just waiting for the stars to align. But listen, motivation is a terrible master. It's temporary, it's highly inconsistent, and it completely depends on things like whether you had a good day, what you ate for lunch, or how much you slept last night. If your academic success relies on motivation, your progress is going to be wildly inconsistent. On the flip side, we have discipline. Discipline is consistent. It means taking action regardless of how you feel in that exact moment. Because the most successful students out there, they don't magically feel motivated every single day. They just have the discipline to sit down and start anyway.
And that brings us to a magic number, 5. If you're really struggling to find that discipline today, just commit to 5 minutes. Tell yourself, okay, I'm only going to study for 5 minutes. Starting is always, hands down, the absolute hardest part of any task. The friction is always highest right before you begin. But once you commit to just those first 5 minutes, a really fascinating biological shift happens. Your brain slowly crosses the threshold, the resistance drops, and you naturally just adjust right into a mode of focus.
So, the crucial point is captured perfectly in this quote. Action creates motivation, not the other way around. Seriously, read that again. Action creates motivation. We usually think we need to feel motivated before we take action, right? But the source material turns this completely upside down. The actual act of sitting down, opening the book, and starting to write, that is the true catalyst. Once you start the action, the motivation to keep going follows right behind it.
That leads us to trick number 3. Get enough sleep. Let's get real about the myth of the all-nighter. Staying up until 4 a.m. surrounded by empty energy drinks, it gives us this false, highly romanticized sense of working harder. We kind of wear sleep deprivation like a badge of honor, right? Like it proves our ultimate dedication. But when we actually look at the biology of a tired brain, the results are pretty grim. An exhausted brain basically rejects information. It learns slower, it forgets data significantly faster, and it loses focus at the absolute slightest distraction. You are essentially pouring water into a bucket with a giant hole in it. Now contrast that with a fresh brain. Memory retention is vastly improved, concentration is locked in, and learning speed is massively accelerated because your mental energy is high. So those extra 3 hours you spend agonizing over a book at 2 a.m., biologically speaking, they are practically useless compared to what a fresh, rested brain can accomplish in just 30 minutes.
The takeaway here is absolutely clear. Stop sacrificing your sleep for fake productivity. Top-performing students do not pull all-nighters. They actively prioritize their rest because they understand that sleep is exactly when the brain consolidates memories and builds neural pathways. They know for a fact that a fresh, well-rested brain performs exponentially better and actually holds onto the information they spent all day learning. Listen, sleep isn't a luxury. It is a fundamental biological requirement for the learning process.
All right, as we reach our resolution today, let's pull all these concepts together to empower your next steps. Train your focus muscle.
Now, let's be completely honest with each other here. If you're used to checking your phone every 3 minutes, sitting down for a 25-minute block with zero distractions is going to feel incredibly difficult at first. You're going to feel restless, you might feel super bored, and your brain is going to practically scream for a distraction. And you know what? That is completely normal. But focus is quite literally like a muscle. And this brilliantly illustrates our main point. Focus is something that biologically adapts, grows stronger, and becomes more natural the more frequently you train it. Just like you wouldn't walk into a gym and immediately try to lift the heaviest weight on day one, you shouldn't expect to have perfect, monk-like concentration on your very first try. But if you trust the process, your brain's neuroplasticity guarantees that it will adapt. Focus will eventually become your natural default state.
So here is your actionable journey summarized. First, start small. If 25 minutes is just too much right now, start with just 5 to 10 minutes of pure focus. Second, stay consistent every single day. Remember, discipline beats motivation. Third, just trust that biological process of adaptation we just talked about. If you do this, you will slowly but surely turn those 10 minutes of initial struggle into hours of effortless, deep concentration. The person struggling to focus for 10 minutes today, that is the exact same person who will easily be studying for hours in the near future. So I'm going to leave you with this final, provocative thought to ponder. What is the very first 5-minute step you will take today to start training your focus muscle? Don't wait for the perfect moment. Definitely don't wait for motivation to strike. You now have the blueprint derived directly from the science of smarter studying. It's time to take action, train that focus muscle, get your rest, and become the true topper of your class. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you next time.